It's like Warren Buffett says, you want to buy when there's blood in the streets, right? A lot of people say, oh, isn't that like illegal in Paraguay? Because they see all these articles of like the government confiscating all these machines. I don't know any country where theft is legal. When you buy a miner, you're trading electricity for Bitcoin. As soon as we hit the all-time high, it's on.
Retail's not even talking about it yet. Hey guys, it's Paul from Plan B Paraguay. It's part of our series where highlighting expats doing interesting things in Paraguay. Today we wanted to interview my friend Jeremie. Now what's quite interesting about Jeremie is he's actually started mining Bitcoin in Paraguay, and over the last year he's really gotten into it and built up a whole operation. So we thought it'd be interesting to ask you some questions today, and you can share what you've learned and why Paraguay is a good place to do mining.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to be here, and it's been pretty awesome not only seeing what you guys are doing with the Plan B Paraguay, not only with getting people residency, but also the community aspect that you guys have built is just incredible. So yeah, great to be here.
I appreciate that. At least our goal is that when people come here, we want to make the country better. Yeah. Paraguay gives us a lot, so we want to, as expats, if we can, if we have special skills like you, to share it with the country and make the country a better place. So thank you, mate. Let's get into it. I know a little bit about crypto, and I always wonder, because I know there's these guys and some of my friends have been really into mining, but it's, for me, maybe I'm dumb, I don't know, but it's just so much simpler to have some crypto, have some Bitcoin, put it in your hardware wallet, chill and just ride the waves and watch it appreciate. So I guess my first question is, why would you bother getting into mining versus just hodling something like Bitcoin?
Yeah, and it's a great question. It's probably the number one question that people ask when it comes to mining. And it's like the same difference between, so before getting into mining, I was really into the real estate world. So a lot of the things that I learned about real estate and why I invest in real estate versus, let's say, buying a stock in a real estate company really applied to mining too. Of course, I think everybody should hold Bitcoin. It's like, with Bitcoin, you're only going to win in one way, appreciation. It's going to go up in dollar value. It's going to be a hedge against inflation. It's going to be all the things that, go watch a Michael Saylor video to learn more about Bitcoin itself. When it comes to mining, you get the appreciation too, but you also get cash flow constantly. So it's like you're winning in multiple ways. It allows you to step out of the, like you said, riding the waves or the constant up and down, and because you're just winning regardless.
But I guess, so I can understand you talking about getting a passive income, right, from the miners, because that's what they do. But then obviously the capital that could be sitting invested in Bitcoin is instead invested in mining equipment effectively. And so I guess then, does that appreciate, or does that have the same upside potential as just holding that value in something like Bitcoin?
Yeah, so as compared to buying Bitcoin, the timing matters a lot more with miners. If you hold, I actually did the math on it, literally with network data going back to 2012, I think it was. And there's 82% of the time you buy a miner, you'll make 5 to 10x. But you're buying an asset. It's like real estate. You're buying an asset that, like the asset itself, you can sell. Because a lot of people, when they go into mining, they're just looking at how fast is the cash flow going to pay me back for what I invested.
Right.
But people don't look at real estate the same way. That's why when I got into mining, I don't know, I guess just with my experience in real estate, I had maybe a unique lens going into it versus a lot of people that are just in the Bitcoin world going into mining. They just look at, when am I going to get the money back, or when am I going to break even?
So they're purely looking at cash flow, are they?
Exactly. Yeah. And the cool thing with mining versus, let's say, owning a bunch of rental properties is when you have a bunch of rental properties, the cash flow you get depreciates with time. But with Bitcoin mining, it's the opposite. Like literally, if you just hold what you're mining, it's going to go up, versus with rental properties, you always have to raise rents because of inflation. So when you're, like, let's say for real estate, right? You buy a house that even if you're not making any money off cash flow, but that tenant pays off the house for you.
Right.
It's like you only put 20% down, but now you have equity built into it, right? So it's similar where, because a lot of the money that I make from mining isn't even from the cash flow, it's just like funny money, it's a bonus. It offsets the downside of maybe making if I buy the top in a bull run, right? But that miner I own. So basically the way I look at it is, when you buy a miner, you're buying the ability to buy discounted Bitcoin with electricity, but then also you can flip that at any time. Even if you're flipping it for less than what you paid for it, you have to also add the cash flow that you got from it too. So that's what I mean when I say you're winning in multiple ways. You get the cash flow. If you do time it, it's like Warren Buffett says, you want to buy when there's blood in the streets, right? So,
Right.
for example, on this last correction we had when Bitcoin was going down to 75K, everybody was freaking out, and literally there was, even going back to October, there's a miner I bought for 400 euros, sold it for 1200, bought the same thing back for like 450. You have to be contrarian, you have to kind of run at the bullets when everything's, yeah, like I said, when there's blood in the streets. But yeah, and then it's like making a 3x from that. If I looked at the cash flow too, it's like the return is, yeah, I'd have to look at that, but pretty insane.
And with the miners though, at least a few years ago, maybe it slowed down. There was a better miner almost every 6 months that then made the previous generation of miners almost completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
Has that pace of innovation slowed down now so you can hold on to a miner and it's still competitive for longer, or is it still that breakneck kind of speed?
Yeah, it definitely hasn't slowed down. I think maybe compared to, yeah, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, yeah, for sure has, relatively speaking, has slowed down. But it doesn't really affect, because the biggest mistakes I've made mining Bitcoin, or one of the biggest mistakes, has been buying the most brand new miner as soon as it comes out. Because a lot of the price that goes into like how those are priced is just the hype. It's just people wanting the latest and greatest thing instead of what typically miners are valued based off of, which is, it's like a business. It's based off their profit, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you get these crazy multiples where Bitcoin 2x's, you can sell a miner for 3-4x, is because it's based off the profit. But if Bitcoin doubles, your revenue's doubling, but your expenses stay the same. So your profit is 4x.
So in the same way, a regular Bitcoin investor, he's in theory, or she's trying to time the ups and lows to buy and sell crypto. Are you also buying and selling machines based on the market cycle as well, or are you purely just trying to stack more machines? And
a little bit of both. You have to think long term, and then also there's a lot of money to be made in the short term too. And that's the thing with miners. You should definitely, like, Bitcoin is something you want to stack up and hold forever, but miners, eventually that miner is going to get phased out. So it is shorter term. But the cool thing with miners too is the miner prices lags behind Bitcoin. So it, like a couple weeks. So even after Bitcoin, like, it is past 100K, I could still get miners for 50K prices.
almost an arbitrage there or something like.
Yeah, it's less speculation about what you think it's going to do, and it's more just, yeah, it just lags behind Bitcoin. I could make myself sound like a genius that can look at the chart and see the future, but yeah, it's not that complicated, I guess. Because I guess it's also based off of what people are speculating about the market. If people think it's going to go up more, then miner prices are going to go up, and then so it's a little bit different versus just trying to trade Bitcoin and speculating. Yeah.
And let's bring it back to Paraguay. So you've started this in Paraguay. Now, I'm sure there's probably all sorts of different things you have to take in consideration. The most simplest thing I can think of, is it difficult to bring these machines into Paraguay to mine?
It's not difficult. There's definitely a lot of import fees, and yeah, it also depends on who you're working with too.
Right.
A lot of it comes down to that. It's definitely not complicated. It can be a lot more expensive if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not working with trusted people, for sure. I learned that mistake the hard way.
Do you have local partners now, or?
Yeah, absolutely. People for importing, people for hosting. Yeah, you really, that's one thing. If anybody out there is looking to get into mining, is like doing this by yourself. You're just like, it's going to be much harder trying to host them yourself, or trying to, it's really a nightmare. You're really going to go much further with a group of people. Yeah, that's really the biggest piece of advice I could give is find people that are trustworthy, that know what they're doing, and partner up. That would have saved me a lot of money getting into this.
And then moving on from that, is there some benefits to doing this sort of thing in Paraguay versus another country?
Yeah, definitely. If you're looking at just electricity price, which is probably the most important factor when it comes to Bitcoin mining, even just a 1 cent power difference can literally, yeah, it makes a difference between losing money and then thus not being able to flip your miner because the profit's negative, or being able to just weather any storm and still be profitable. So Paraguay is very cheap power. We can dive into the history behind that a little bit.
Yeah.
Back before 1984, when they built the Itaipú Dam, I don't know if I pronounced that, energy was like much more expensive, about 3 to 4x the current price. So on par with the US. I mean, if you look at just the average, or Europe, or I don't know how much it is in Australia, but basically the same thing. So you can't really mine in those countries just because you're going to be looking at like 15 to 20 cent per kilowatt hour, versus here you can get it at 5 cents, which is a very good price.
Yeah.
And so the reason it's so cheap is because when Paraguay built the Itaipú Dam, Brazil loaned them, they basically financed it, and part of that agreement was any power that Paraguay didn't use for themselves, they had to sell to Brazil for hundreds of a penny. I don't know exactly how cheap, but very cheap. So Paraguay is incentivized to sell as much electricity as possible. Otherwise, it's basically just lost revenue. So that really opened up the doors for Bitcoin mining. I think in the future, for sure, this is going to be a major hub for AI data centers.
Anything that's power hungry.
Exactly. So that's a bit of the history of why the government really likes Bitcoin mining here. A lot of people, I get a lot of questions. Because a lot of people know that I'm into mining, and a lot of people say, oh, isn't that like illegal in Paraguay? Because they see all these articles of the government confiscating all these machines and stuff. It's those are people robbing electricity. I don't know any country, maybe Australia.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because I remember, not so much this summer, but I remember last summer there was that whole crackdown on the illegal crypto mines. And basically it was people just like getting a cable from the local thing and just putting it into their house. And it was actually causing blackouts. I can remember once a month there might be a blackout for a couple hours, and it was apparently from these underground crypto mines. So they've been cleaning that up.
And as they should, right? This is literally theft.
Stealing.
I don't know any country where theft is legal. Energy's already so cheap here, so it really doesn't make sense. That's where people kind of get that misconception of mining.
And do you need to get like a certain license or something from the government to be a miner here? Or as long as you pay for the electricity you use, they're chill about it?
So it depends on the scale. If you want 10 megawatts, which is a lot of power, yeah, you definitely need to go to Andy, which is the basically the national power company, and get that license and apply for it with them.
Yeah.
If you're doing it super small scale, yeah, as long as you're paying for the electricity, it's fine. Yeah, just don't be out there tapping the grid and stealing electricity. Yeah, you'll be able to sleep well at night.
Is there any way of knowing what percentage of the whole Bitcoin network is supported by miners in Paraguay? Do we at least have a percentage or two here, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's still it's not a very, what's the word? Under-tapped, like it hasn't really been tapped into much yet.
Yeah.
It's still a very minor player in the overall scheme of things. The majority is going to be coming from like Russia. The US is huge. China has a lot of Bitcoin miners. Iran, because they just tear oil out of the ground.
All right, just burn it.
Yeah. But there's other advantages besides just the cheap power here that make it a great place for miners. I have miners in Russia, and it's like different climate out there. There's a war. Hopefully things will get resolved soon. But I don't know. I can't really, if all my miners were in Russia, I don't think I'd be able to, I'd be tossing and turning. I wouldn't be able to, because I don't know, maybe a bomb drops on the mining farm or whatever. So Paraguay is like very much out of the limelight.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize that. So you have miners in other countries besides Paraguay as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to diversify. And I think definitely for any miner, like Paraguay should be part of that too, because, and not even just from mining, I think it's a great place to have a plan B, as your guys' name entails. Just because, yeah, it's very much out of the limelight. It's there's no nukes pointed at Paraguay. Yeah, it's definitely an important piece, especially if you look at the overall purpose of Bitcoin, of decentralized money. You also want to decentralize a little bit, yeah. So I have miners in Russia, Nigeria, Dubai, the US, had some in Finland, of course Paraguay. I don't think I'm missing any. Yeah, pretty much that.
And does each country have its unique challenges and opportunities, or?
Yeah, pros and cons. There's some places like Nigeria has really cheap electricity, but
what's it from? Do they have hydro there or something?
It's actually solar.
Really?
It's a government project that they just
Nigeria.
launched out there. Yeah. So the project that we have miners in is actually, it's like a government project, so I could trust them a little bit more. Nigeria is one of those countries where it's like, could a civil war break out here? Not really. It's very unlikely. But yeah, just different pros and cons. I think it's important to diversify, because also if you have all your miners just in one country, then you're beholden to trusting that government not to change their, especially in Paraguay with just one national power company, that they could change the power rate, they could just ban it like Russia just did over the winter. Yeah, so I like to diversify for that reason.
And in regards to the relationship with the Paraguayan miners, is it a brotherhood or is it you see each other as competitors? Or what's that, out of curiosity?
That's a good question. I guess it depends on what you're doing. Yeah, there's not really a lot of competition. I wouldn't say that.
Because you have the same interests in regards to legislation here and keeping things legal and transparent with the government
Right.
as well. So, and I assume there's enough energy for everyone. It's not like your use is infringing on the...
It's not PvP. We're
Exactly,
not, like
yeah.
me winning doesn't mean the other person has
Exactly,
to.
it's not zero
Right.
sum.
Yeah, it's a win. The people using the Bitcoin network get a secure network. We get the transaction fees. Government gets a bunch of revenue from, which is a lot of revenue. It's north of $1 billion, which for a small country is significant.
Yeah.
Just from Bitcoin mining. Yeah, so it's a win for everybody, really. Yeah. Now you got me thinking.
And should everyone invest in mining, or what type of person would this make sense to as an investment?
So that's a really good question. I think it really comes down to what you...
And I know you're not a financial advisor.
Yeah.
Entertainment purposes only.
Yeah. So I would say any investment, like some people can go and play poker
Right.
and it's not gambling for them. That's an investment. They go there, they're so good at it, they can win. Versus most people, I'm pretty sure that's classified as gambling, right?
Yeah.
But some people, like buying Bitcoin would be gambling. So it really depends on, if you're doing it by yourself, there's a lot you have to learn. You have to learn what you're doing. You have to look at the past market cycles, see historically when has been the best times to buy miners historically. I've chosen to become a little bit obsessed about this just because I think applied knowledge is power. But yeah, if you want to do this by yourself, learn what you're doing. Don't buy when they're talking about Bitcoin on CNBC or what's the guy's name? Jim Cramer.
Yeah,
Cramer's
yeah,
talking about
okay.
it. That's especially with miners. Like you can buy Bitcoin and be fine and just hold
Right.
it. I think if you like Bitcoin and you want to mitigate some of that, because I think every person that owns crypto of any kind, even if it's just Bitcoin, knows that feeling when you look at your account and you see it down. Yeah, and then the opposite too when you see it. So with mining, you don't really get that. It's just a stable.
It's just...
And then when Bitcoin does go up, when there's a rapid increase, you get the added benefit. But if you want something more stable and just that cash flow.
So
like
would you
making
say
money.
it's for people that at least already have an interest or hold crypto and Bitcoin and this is the next level? Or...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think if you are a Bitcoin maxi or you understand Bitcoin and you're sold on it, 100%, you should definitely have some miners. It's like the perfect addition for that because it counteracts some of those downsides or some of those pitfalls that people run into with Bitcoin. Again, looking at their portfolio and be like, oh, I'm losing money when you really don't lose unless you
Right.
sell.
You have more Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, so with mining, I just look at my wallet every day. Oh, there's always more Bitcoin, right? So it's great for accumulating like Bitcoin itself.
Right.
Because the coin will go up, I believe, well into the future. But it also like, it increases the amount of Bitcoin you have, which
Right.
Yeah.
So it's more for that mindset for people. They're not thinking in dollars or euros. They're thinking in having more Bitcoin at
Yeah.
the end of the day, and that's the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I could almost compare it to people that want to like DCA or just slowly buy Bitcoin over time. Because like I said earlier, when you buy a miner, you're buying the ability to buy discounted Bitcoin. You're
Yeah.
trading electricity for Bitcoin. And then you can sell that miner anytime. I know people like that $500 miner I was telling you about. There's people that bought those for the $15K right before 2022 at the peak because the revenue just goes crazy. Because most people just look at the spot.
As of
spot.
today.
If every single day they sell the profit $4 and then they just like times that for a year. I think it's just,
it's just going to be like that. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, if you're the type of person that you understand one Bitcoin will always be one Bitcoin and you want to stack up more Bitcoin, it's perfect for you. Like I said, it's like buying this kind of Bitcoin. Yeah.
And let's say though, what if you're someone that doesn't have the time to be obsessed like you do? Can you do this in a casual way, in a part-time way? Can you, I don't know, hire someone to manage it for you? Or is it purely run your own machines all in deep? Or is there different levels, different ways of investing?
Yeah, there's definitely different levels. It's like a lot of people say real estate owning rentals is passive, but man, like Bitcoin mining is a whole other level of passive. It can be incredibly passive, especially if you're working with a partner that manages the miners, monitors the temperatures, the uptime, makes sure they're clean. These are machines that accumulate dust and grime. So it can be incredibly passive, especially if you just look at it from a fundamental level. To run a Bitcoin miner, you just buy a machine and power Ethernet and then tell it where to send the sats, basically. I'm oversimplifying it, but if you want to really scale, it's important to work with partners and people that you trust. There's been so many different scandals of mining companies, all these miners disappear, and even sometimes it's not even their fault. Like with my partner in Russia, we were looking at getting some in the US because Russia's starting to crack down on mining. And this was right before Trump got inaugurated. And for some reason, they were just holding up everything from China in customs. So we had 400K worth of Bitcoin miners stuck in customs for 5 months. So yeah, there's little things like that can come up. So it's important that you're working with people that are professionals. Like I remember when I was first getting into Bitcoin mining, this guy actually in Paraguay launched this NFT. You buy this NFT and you're gonna get part of our hash rate. I bought one of them. I always try to start small. That's another advice I would give people. Start small as possible amount just to test something. A lot of people just want to jump in. And that's really where you can just pay more for your lessons. You determine how expensive your education is going to be. But I got into this and I was like, everybody was talking about making money from mining. They were just talking about keys and the JPEGs and the pictures and the art. And I was like, I knew I had to get out of it. Good thing I did, because turns out none of their miners were plugged in. And they had just hundreds, maybe even thousands of miners sitting in a warehouse somewhere here in Paraguay. So always test things small. And yeah, there's a lot of great companies though. I know I'm making it sound like it's probably more scary than it is, but there's a lot of great companies out there. Just do your research, look at reviews. Yeah, just places that have been around for a while too. That's the thing. Like if you see somebody coming on there and saying, oh, we can get 3-cent power and it sounds too good to be true. A lot of times, I hate to be that guy because people say that all the time, but it sounds too good to be true. And what's normal usually is. So, like the lowest I pay for energy anywhere is 4.5 cents, and then up to 8 cents in some of the more expensive regions. Typically here in Paraguay, it's, especially if it's hosted, like you're looking usually at 6 cents, which is still really good. Like in Canada, I think it's 30 cents per kilowatt hour.
Imagine I'm someone watching this YouTube channel right now. I like the idea of what you're talking about. I want to get into mining or invest in mining here. What would be the next steps, would you say?
Yeah, as far as like finding a company to buy miners. Yeah, definitely shop around. Maybe we'll link some resources in the description for companies that I personally would recommend. There's a lot of great ones out there. Step number one is you want to find a trustworthy, established, good company. Really, if you want to verify if a company is legit, they should have their actual a link to their pool data, so you can actually see their hash rate on like a public pool like F2 pool or any of these via BTC, any of these big pools.
Right.
That's like an easy way to just verify if a company is legit. And then yeah, typical procedure, of course we have our own services that it's a turnkey ASIC. That's the name of the company that basically, if you think of turnkey investing, we just make it very simple, very easy. You just buy a miner, we handle the buying it, importing it, all the fees, plugging it in, monitoring it, everything, and you just get Bitcoin paid out to you weekly. But that's like a pretty typical process of how it looks like. Of course, there's many other companies besides us. Other companies that I like and have used in the past are Go Mining. The Siberian Mine is also really great. Yeah, usually how it works is you buy a miner, you can pay with crypto. Some of them will accept card. There's kind of some limits with crypto and card payments. Those two worlds haven't quite integrated fully. Hopefully in the future, it'll be a lot easier. But if you already have crypto, just cash out your Dogecoin. You could buy a Dogecoin miner too. I have one of those. Keep stacking up. But yeah, and then you buy a miner with whatever crypto you want to use, and then basically they will manage everything, make it go online. Some of them, it's a lot less passive than it should be. Like you have to monitor your balance, top up the balance for electricity, and then they pay the Bitcoin directly out to you, or some of them you have to log in and they manage the wallet for you, and then you pay it out manually.
Until you come here, a lot of people think Latin America is dangerous or scary, and maybe some places are. I don't think Asunción's particularly like that. But do you feel there's some sort of safety risk, or maybe not your personal safety, but does there need to be guards of the facilities? Is there a real concern that these could be stolen from or something like that here?
So that's another reason why I like mining. Because if you compare that to, I don't know, maybe some cold storage, or how easy it would be to, like, let's say hack, or you saw the Bybit hack that I know there's Ethereum, and that's a whole other conversation, but if you have everything on a wallet, somebody gets access to your seed phrase, they can get access to all your funds. With mining, I like that it's like physical machines.
Right.
If somebody wants to take my miners, they got to get through the guards and haul. And there's only so many, because these things are like 15 kilos each and big. It's like not really as, what's the word? Like you can't really pocket it and just go.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely have to have, security, guards, surveillance, for sure. Just for peace of mind. Even in Dubai, where I have miners, Dubai is a very safe country on a global level, but we still have security out there. It's just, just for peace of mind. So definitely very important. Paraguay, it's never been an issue for us. We've never had any miners stolen. We've never had anything happen like that. Like I said, you have to make sure that you're working with people that are professionals, and especially if you're looking to get these hosted in a facility, you should double check and make sure they have security and basic things like that. But we've never had an issue. Compared to other Latin American countries, Paraguay is definitely a very safe country.
When you invest with someone here, will they take you to the premises to actually see the miner, or is it trust me bro type stuff?
Yeah, it really depends. That's also something that's really important, like looking at their social medias and seeing that they have tours of their facility and it's like an actual thing. It's not an animation or whatever. But it depends. A lot of them, these are big companies. It really depends on who you're working with. So it's hit or miss. Some will, some won't. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not legit if they don't. It's just they have a lot of clients, or usually it's if you invest a certain amount, then they will. It's like a white glove service.
See.
If you have $20 invested, they're probably not gonna. But some of them will.
Is there a minimum investment usually in these sort of things, or will they cater to all different levels?
You get a better price the higher ticket the sale is. So it's definitely better to, if you have a larger amount of money, you can still get some great machines for 10 to 15K. That's a great starting point. But you can also, there's like the company Go Mining I mentioned, you can literally start with $20.
Okay.
If you just want to test the waters and just, but again, like the return is going to be speculatively 30% instead of 120% on just cash flow. Yeah. So
when you say a percentage like that, because that is a big percentage, are you talking about in terms of the US dollar amount from the original investment to what you could potentially expect yearly? Or are you talking about the Bitcoin percentage of a 30% return? Because there's two very different things.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so in that figure, I was just talking about cash flow on the US dollar terms.
Okay, US dollars.
Most of us will buy them in US dollars.
Right,
and
of course.
US dollars.
Yeah.
But even if you look at Bitcoin, like I said earlier, and especially if you're quantifying the return on the appreciation of flipping these miners versus just the cash flow, yeah, like I said, Bitcoin goes up 2x from here. The miner, you're going to be able to flip that miner for 4 to 6x. And that's not just speculation. I've already done that multiple times in the past year.
Yeah.
So that's literally what happens. Because like a company, it's based off, the valuation is based off the profit. So imagine you had a company that your revenue 4x'd, again in dollar terms, but your expenses stayed the same. That's going to be, the valuation is going to be much, much higher. So I guess both, because if you were just holding Bitcoin, it's just doing a 2x.
Right, exactly, yeah. So that's almost built in.
Yeah.
And then, do you have plans, or, because crypto is cyclical, right? So we're arguably at the start of a bull run until the end of this year.
Right.
What happens when it crashes? What happens to people's investment? I assume there's still going to be some sort of income, less. Like, how does that work? How do you handle the downturns?
Yeah, that's why when you're working with a company, you really want to make sure that like they've already been through cycles. Because there's so many, if you look back at the multiple cycles we've had, there's so many projects that were going to be like the Bitcoin killer or whatever. They're just like, where are they now?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with mining companies. There's a lot of them that they build off that hype, profit off of it, and then just go under. But all the partners that I work with, they've been around since 2014 or years and years, multiple cycles. So they've already proven themselves. And I don't know if this is like an insult. I mean it in a complimentary way, but they're like the cockroaches of mining, where it's like they've been through so many like government shutdowns and all this crazy stuff, but they just always survive. What I think the best thing to do, I think right now is still a great time to get into mining. Personally, what I'm going to be doing is definitely going to be taking some of the chips off the table, selling some of the less efficient miners. Certain miners I'm still going to be running, but some of the older generations like the S19s, which came out in 2021, 2020, definitely those aren't going to be profitable going into far into the future. Just the margins are too small. It's very important a lot of people like to, when they buy miners, look at, okay, Bitcoin's this price now, but it could go up to this in the future. But you also got to look at it as it could go down to this. And not even necessarily Bitcoin price, but you also have to account for the difficulty increase with more miners coming online. The actual metric you want to look at is hash price. You also want to look at, if my revenue gets cut in half, is this miner still going to be profitable? And if that's the case, you're good. So definitely still going to be mining throughout 2026. I'm never going to stop mining.
I think we'll get new all-time highs fairly soon.
Yeah, as soon as we hit the all-time high, it's on.
Retail's not even talking about it yet.
No,
which is crazy. Like it doesn't have the hype for normies yet, even though the price is so high. It's crazy.
What happens to a bit of mining if Bitcoin hits 150 and then in a year's time, bang, it just goes right back down to 40 grand or 50?
So that's why I never sell the Bitcoin I mine. If I really need, instead of selling it, what I do is I loan against it to pay for the electricity or anything. So that way I'm always holding the Bitcoin. So it's just constantly accumulating. It's almost like DCAing. In many ways it's similar. It's always important to, like I said, I play both games. I play the long-term game where I have miners that, like, no matter what, like Bitcoin literally needs to be 20K for them to break even, like not be profitable. And then I have short-term miners where I buy the more in 12-week cycles during the peaks in the, because it really does go through on average 206-day cycle where it doubles, halves the distance, and then doubles again. So it goes 30K or 35K, 70K, 50K, 100K, 75K, 150K.
Right.
You know, it's just Bitcoin doing Bitcoin things. But yeah, we'll have to see.
So Jeremy, looking forward, where do you see all this going? Mining, crypto in Paraguay?
Like I said, mining provides a ton of revenue for the government. Also, the cool thing too is it's hydro, so it's a renewable energy. The energy is not going anywhere anytime soon. I think also more people are coming here, especially, I don't know how much that relates to mining. A lot more people are coming here that are pro-crypto. So I think just in general, the crypto atmosphere, environment here in Paraguay is only getting better and better. I don't know if it's specifically to Paraguay. I think it is, where they have a map of everywhere that takes lightning.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those.
So yeah, crypto in general is just getting more and more evolved through time here in Paraguay. I'm very excited about the future. And yeah, it's nice just compared to some of the other places where I mine to, like Paraguay is just that place I know it's always going to be there. It's not like the miners are way off the radar, and
it's like that.
In
It's
many ways,
a little safe haven.
Absolutely. In general, not even just with crypto or mining, it's just growing so fast here. Maybe we could put the picture up on the screen of Asuncion 20 years ago.
Okay, yeah, we could do that. Just
There's
how
like
big it is, how much
literally
it's changed.
no skyscrapers, no buildings. So
It's just
overall,
crazy.
it's exciting to be in a place that's just growing so fast. It's hard to really, because maybe a lot of people will hear me say that and be like, oh yeah, okay. But once you get here, like you'll see what I mean of like how fast it's growing. It's incredible.
And it's also the people it attracts. I'm talking to you. I interviewed Imi, our mutual friend, recently, and just the cool guys that are coming here with different ideas. Just coming here and meeting all you guys also really adds to it. You know, a place that can attract guys like this and women as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a specific like profile of a person that Paraguay attracts.
Definitely.
Because it's different from other Latin American countries. Because before coming to Paraguay, I'd traveled all over Latin America. And so I've seen a lot of different sides of this continent. And the difference with Paraguay is you meet people here and it's their first time in Latin America. They come straight to Paraguay. So they're not just fly by night coming here to do whatever, party, and then go off to the next country. You meet people here that are like really thinking long term and just like-minded people.
And settling here.
Settling,
buying houses, having children.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
That's a good segue. You mentioned that you're also offering your own services in regards to the Bitcoin mining. Did you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So with kind of my journey through starting mining and all these different pitfalls I had, a lot of people will look at something and like for me, every time I saw like some dude running off with money from a mining scam or whatever, I just looked at it as an opportunity, because if that's what people are used to, there's really so much opportunity for somebody that's like a professional with a good team to come in and actually really focus on just providing a good service and an actual good experience for the customer. So a lot of current solutions out there really aren't passive. Like I said, you got to check on things. You got to make sure your electricity is all paid for, and it's not as passive as it could be.
Just to cut you in there,
sorry.
it's so funny what you said, because Cam and I felt the exact same way with the residency business.
Oh,
like
yeah.
before us, there was people that are running off with people's money and just unprofessional. It was just a disaster.
Yeah.
And when we created Plan B, it was let's have a Western level of service and professionalism in Paraguay. So it's so funny you're seeing the same things in mining.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go on. You were saying.
Yeah, and that's another cool thing about Paraguay in general is like a lot of people will complain about, oh, like this level of service is maybe not what they're used to in their country, but people like us will look at that and just see, wow, there's so much opportunity. Like the competition is just not really a high tier there. You guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's potential for improvements.
Yeah. So mining is the exact same way. And yeah, just really focusing on a truly passive solution where you invest once, good customer support. If you have a question, you just DM our team directly and you just get Bitcoin from your miners paid out directly to you. Energy deducted from it automatically, extremely passive. I don't really know if there's anything more passive than this. Maybe stocks.
Not many things that aren't a scam.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. BitConnect.
Right. So how would someone who wants to learn more about your services, how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you could check out our website. We have all our information on there. It's turnkeyasic.com. ASIC is ASIC.com.
We'll put it in the description of this video for you guys.
There's a lot of great companies out there. But yeah, I think we're one of them, so definitely check us out. Also, if you have any questions about mining, you can reach out to me there as well, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Awesome, mate. It's always great to talk to another expat that's also opening a business here, so thank you for your time today, mate.
Yeah,
really
thanks for
appreciate
having me, man. Yeah.
Guys, if you want to learn more about residency in Paraguay as well, you can book a call in our Calendly link in the description, and I'd be happy to chat with you and see if Paraguay is also a good fit for you. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.